Welcome to Just a Minute. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh. Hello. My name is Nicholas Parsons, and as the minute waltz fades away, once more it's my huge pleasure to welcome our many listeners in this country and, of course, throughout the world, but also to welcome to the show four highly talented and attractive personalities who are going to show their humorous skills, their knowledge of the English language, their verbal dexterity and ingenuity as they try and speak on a subject that I give them, and they do that without hesitation, repetition, or deviation. And those four people are, seated on my right, Victor Spinetti and Clement Freud, and seated on my left, Tony Hawks and Sheila Hancock. Please welcome all four of them. And seated beside me is Janet Staplehurst, who's going to help me keep the score, and she will blow a whistle when the 60 seconds have elapsed. And this particular edition of Just a Minute is coming from Theatr Clwyd, which is in Mold in North Wales. And we have a lovely, huge, vast audience in this magnificent theatre, eager for us to get moving in the show. So let us begin with Clement Freud. And Clement, the subject is my favourite Welsh celebrity. They're full of anticipation. So talk on the subject, Clement. 60 seconds you have available starting now.
My favourite Welsh celebrity was Tommy Farr, who lived in Primrose Street in Tonypandy, which is in South Wales, not far from Merthyr Tydfil. He was the boxing champion.
Tony, challenge.
Actually, I thought he was going to hesitate, but I think he just got the word out in time.
I think he definitely hesitated.
Oh, he did hesitate. Okay, I'll go with hesitation then.
In fact, he was going so slowly he almost ran out of steam. But anyway, well, and I think we should establish later who Tommy Farr was if they don't already know.
Boxer.
I know, we know that, darling. But I didn't want to inhibit Clement in case he gets the subject back again.
No, I won't use that.
So, Tony, you have a correct challenge. So you get a point for that. You take over the subject. You have 47 seconds available, and the subject is my favourite Welsh celebrity. Starting now.
I believe it was a Welsh celebrity that came up with the idea of throwing your underpants into the audience, which is something I will be doing shortly in honour of Tom Jones. It's something that I get asked.
Clement, challenge.
He's repeated something.
Yes, you did say something before.
Essentially, yes.
So, Clement, you have got the subject back, and if you want to elucidate now is your opportunity. You have 34 seconds. You have my favourite Welsh celebrity starting now.
Owen Glendower.
Wait a minute, no.
Who is Owen Glendower?
Well, let's give it to the Welshman, because I think your buzz came in first, Victor. So you have 30 seconds on my favourite Welsh celebrity, starting now.
My favourite Welsh celebrity, without any doubt, is Richard Burton, because he was the most generous man you could possibly meet. Always, wherever you were, and he saw you, would say, "You all right for money now, boy?" And he also, if you did an impersonation of him, you had to speak on the left-hand side there like this, because, you see, I said to him once, "Why that side?" He said, "Well, I keep the other side for drinking." And Richard was the person.
In this game, whoever is speaking when the whistle goes gains an extra point. On this occasion, it was Victor Spinetti. And so at the end of that round, Victor, you have 2 points. In fact, Victor, you are in the lead ahead of all the others. Sheila, will you take the next round? And the subject is saving energy. 60 seconds as usual, starting now.
One way of saving energy would be not to play this game, because it demands so much sweat and toil and brain power not to fall into traps of repetition, deviation, and the other thing which I've forgotten. However, there are other ways.
Hesitation.
No.
No, I'm just telling you what it is you've forgotten.
Very good.
Very good. So, Tony, what we do there, she wasn't deviating, hesitating, or repeating anything, so we give you a bonus point because we enjoyed the interruption. But Sheila gets the point because she was interrupted, and she still has saving energy, and 45 seconds to keep going, starting now.
Quite seriously, we do have to save energy because the power and everything is going to run out, including the oil and gas, because there is a shortage. Oh,
Yes,
gorgeous.
well, listen, Victor. It's because you said before, and so, Victor, you got the
Very
subject.
good.
You're well on the ball now, and you have saving energy, 34 seconds, starting now.
I think that saving energy is exactly what Sheila Hancock said about this game. It really is a nightmare, and you are on... What?
Tony,
On
challenge.
what?
Tony, challenge.
Repetition of
Like it. I didn't know what I was on, but I wish I was on something, I can tell you that.
Well, the thing is that though you hesitated, you did repeat So, Tony, you've got him on 2 counts, but you have the subject, you have 23 seconds, saving energy, starting now.
When I was at school, a lot of the other kids saved things like football cards or stamps, and I was saving electricity, keeping it under the stairs in a little box, so that if anybody came round, I could show them it. And it was quite a shock that they got, I tell you, when they saw it. I had a little bucket of gas.
Clement, challenge.
2 littles.
2 littles in a little box, yes.
yes.
Little one. I know, you wanted him to go on, didn't you? But that's the frustration of this game, but part of the fun. So, Clement, you've got him with 5 seconds to go on saving energy, starting now.
Saving energy is exactly what everybody here ought to do all the time. Save.
So, at the end of that round, Clement Freud was speaking as the whistle went, and again, very interesting situation. Clement Freud, Victor Spinetti, Tony Hawks all have 3 points. They are equal in the lead, just ahead of Sheila Hancock. Victor.
Won't last long.
You never know. This is a good subject for you, so you go on this one. Hip. Can you talk about hip? You look as if you couldn't, but do your best. 60 seconds, starting now.
Hip. Well, we all have 2, one on the left, another on the right, but I prefer hip to mean It's a nightmare, honest.
I'm trying to save him from a nervous breakdown.
Too late.
I think you are the best advertisement for having this show on television. Because your facial reactions are what engages audience beyond
I thought
words.
of a good story too, never mind.
No. Tell us after.
Tell us afterwards. Sheila, you got in. Let's hear your challenge. What was it?
Repetition of R.
R and hesitation. Right. 50 seconds. Tell us something about hip, Sheila, starting now.
Hip was very current in the 60s. It meant you were with it, trendy, on the ball. Nowadays, it's a bit passé. You are more inclined to say, yeah, right on, or that's a bit antiquated as well. My hip is a bit of a problem. I have to do yoga and Pilates in order to keep it bending in the right direction. In fact, this very morning, I was on the floor, moving my knees up in the air.
Freud challenge.
I was saving her.
I must say the visual image was quite intriguing. Clement, have you got a challenge when the rules are just a minute?
Hips don't bend.
Oh. It's true, though, isn't it? So, all right, I have to give you the benefit of the doubt. Right. That was very, very interesting. Thank you for that, Victor. Victor wants you all to know that he does Pilates, too. Right. Clement, you have a correct challenge. 21 seconds. Hip, starting now.
If you enjoy something a lot, you say hip, 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 hooray.
Challenge.
Oh, I suppose it's on the blooming card,
That's the
is
subject.
it?
You can repeat the subject.
Hip, 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 yeah.
Yes, within reason, but he didn't go too far.
He knew exactly what he was
did.
doing.
He did. I'd forgotten.
The cunning old fox.
I'd forgotten all his tricks.
It's not for nothing that he's played this game for nearly 39 years.
I know.
So, Clement, you have an incorrect challenge. You have another point. You have 17 seconds on hip, starting now.
It's still hip, not hip replacement. One would have thought after 37 seconds, one would have got a slightly...
Repetition, one.
Yes, you did say one before, Clement.
Always say one.
And you can't say it twice or even more in just a minute. So, well, listen, Victor, you have 10 seconds to go on hip. So 10 seconds isn't too long, Victor. Gird yourself, take a deep breath, and start now.
Hip meaning fashionable. My mother once used to tell us ghost stories round the fire. And she said, oh, look, there was a coal miner coming down the pit, and he saw...
Right, so Victor Spinetti was speaking as the whistle went and has increased his position there and is still equal in the lead, but this time with Clement Freud, followed by Tony Hawks and Sheila Hancock. And Tony, your turn to begin. The subject is speakers. Tell us something about speakers in this game, starting now.
There are many fine speakers in the world, but none as eloquent as Victor Spinetti when he is on this programme. I have revived all my previous theories about Winston Churchill being a cracking talker. I've heard him, and he's the business. Occasionally, when he's about to hesitate, he will go, and things like that. I said it slowly so I didn't repeat the sound and they couldn't get it in. But I am very impressed indeed, and I will be booking him for a private function in about 3 weeks' time, where I wish to clear the audience.
Victor, you challenged.
Yes, hesitation. And also, I want to go so I can audition for you.
I think he was also deviating, talking about booking. He was right. He's not an agent, he's a performer. So you have 29 seconds.
I might have set up my own agency.
Speaking...
He might have done.
Just because I've given you no bookings.
Right, so speakers. Victor, 29 seconds. Tell us something about speakers starting now.
I never understood all this business about these speakers when they say there's a woof or a twifter or a fluffed. All these funny little words that you used to have about these things that we placed on either side of...
Sheila's challenge.
These, there were an awful lot of theses.
Yes, it was.
These woofs and these woofs and these things.
Yes, tough challenge. But it was correct, Sheila. So 17 seconds on speakers starting now.
I used to go to Speaker's Corner a great deal in London. That's at Hyde Park, and you used to hear people standing...
Tony challenge.
Yeah.
Well, I think she was patronising us as well, and telling us... I think the Radio 4 audience know that Hyde Park is in London.
Say they were in London.
Didn't you say it's in London?
Yes, but there's people
I didn't think the Welsh would know where Speaker's Corner was. Hands up those who've been to Speaker's Corner.
Thank goodness we have a dishonest audience with us.
I should explain to our listeners that every single hand in the audience went up.
Maybe they've got one in mould.
The idea that the whole of this audience at Speaker's Corner wouldn't hold them.
No.
So there we are. But, Sheila, I must also explain there are people probably who listen to our programme, well, I know that lots of people listened in India and China and other places, and they may not know where Speaker's Corner is.
Exactly, that's what I was thinking.
Exactly, I know, I think you're absolutely right.
But I did repeat used to.
Yes, repetition of used to.
That's right. 10 seconds are available, Tony, for you on the subject of speakers, starting now.
I have some speakers with my stereo system that sit either side of the fireplace. One fell in the other week, and that sound quality got considerably better. I'm not quite sure.
So, Tony Hawks, then, speaking as a whistle went, has moved forward. He's equal with Clement Freud in second place, but still in the lead. One ahead of them is Victor Spinetti. Now, Sheila, your turn to begin. The subject, nerves. Something which we all know about in show business. Talk on it. 60 seconds, starting now.
Nerves are a thing that obsess people in my industry because all we have are a load of words inside our head, no machinery or computer to help us out. We stand in the wings and come on exposed to all these people. We can make total Burks of ourselves. So...
It's a wheeze.
Yes.
We stand in the music and all the people.
And you had him on these.
Yeah, fair enough.
So he's got you on weeds. And you got the subject of nerves now, Victor. 37 seconds available, starting now.
Nerves are the most terrifying thing you can possibly have, and it's because I'm doing this show. That...
Clement Freud challenge.
Deviation.
Why?
Well, boa constrictors would be the most horrible things.
No, doing just a minute, I can assure you.
According to Victor, doing just a minute gives him more nerves than anything else. He might be a man who can handle a boa constrictor for all we know.
Yes. Imagine doing this show with a boa constrictor.
Has it happened?
Next week.
Next week, right. So, Victor, I disagree with the challenge. You have another point, of course. You still have the subject, 32 seconds. Nerves, starting now.
In nerves, I feel that the whole point is that you go blank, you stare at the audience, and you just go... I missed another R.
Reuse. You got me for 3 weeks.
Right.
You stand in the audience.
You're right.
But let's not be too
He
pedantic.
did it for me. What do you mean, oh? You got me for we?
But don't let's do it too often. Otherwise, the whole show will fall apart. You have a correct challenge. Nerves is with you, Sheila. 25 seconds, starting now.
My way round it is to have hypnotism, which I have cured myself of fear of flying, stage fright, all manner of things. It is a very effective way of stopping panic attacks. I recommend it highly to anybody who's listening in Italy or India, anywhere abroad in the world or in mould.
So Sheila Hancock, with points in the round and one for speaking as the whistle went, has leapt forward. She's now equal in second place with Tony Hawks, but they're still both 1 point behind our leader, who's still Victor Spinetti. And only 1 point behind Sheila and Tony is Clement Freud, so it's still very close. And Victor, it's your turn to begin. The subject is the chairman's biggest problem. I'm slightly nervous of this subject, but Victor, you begin. 60 seconds as usual, starting now.
The chairman's biggest problem in just a minute is obviously me, because all the time I'm speaking, he is on tenterhooks, knowing that any minute I'm going to crash to the ground and fall to the floor. And that will be the end of me in this program. Never again will Clement Freud or any of the others who've been very, very courageous...
Clement, yes.
Very,
I know.
very.
Once you get into
Very,
full flight,
very.
you can't.
See, once I go, that's it. Forget it.
No, but we can't let that one go.
No.
So, Clement, you've got 37 seconds after repetition of very. The chairman's biggest problem, and you have 60 seconds starting now.
I just don't believe that 37 seconds are enough in which to discuss the chairman's biggest problem. From his feet...
Tony challenge.
Was there a slight hesitation there?
No, I don't think so.
You could drive a tank through it.
He wasn't going slower than he usually goes, and sometimes I do have to give the benefit of the doubt. It goes to Clement Freud. I don't think you were hesitating enough to be interpreted as such, Clement. So you continue. 28 seconds. The chairman's biggest problem starting now.
The chairman's biggest problem is not knowing to whom to give the benefit of the doubt. I have seen it awarded to all sorts of players from Kenneth Williams' days on. You...
Victor challenge.
That was hesitation.
That was hesitation. So, Victor, you got the subject back. You have 15 seconds. That's not very long. The chairman's biggest problem starting now.
The chairman's biggest problem was years ago in this program was Kenneth Williams.
Tony challenge.
I think he said program when he first spoke about just a minute in his first...
Yes, you did. I'm unfortunate. Yes.
Sorry.
Tony, you have 10 seconds. The chairman's biggest problem starting now.
When Chairman Mao was in charge of China many years ago, he sat on his throne. Not many people knew he had one of those, but he did. I happen to know he used to ring me regularly.
Clement challenge.
Repetition of no.
Yes, no.
Yes, it's true.
Yes.
Well.
So Clement got another point, and you have 1 second on the chairman's biggest problem starting now.
Faultlessness.
Clement Freud was then speaking as a whistle when gained that extra point, as well as others in the round. And it's got a little bit different now. They're not all equal. Clement Freud is just in the lead. It's in sequence. One ahead of Victor Spinetti, who's one ahead of Tony Hawks, who's one ahead of Sheila Hancock. So, still evens, Clevens. Tony, it's your turn to begin. The subject is hot dogs. Will you tell us something about hot dogs in this game starting now?
Some years ago, I was on holiday in the Sahara Desert when I saw a pack of beagles coming towards me with several little wayward dachshunds.
Clement Chance.
Hesitation.
Yes, I'm afraid. You made well of hesitation.
I made myself laugh.
You painted such an amazing picture, you even dried yourself up.
I did.
So, Clement, you have the subject, and which is hot dogs. 49 seconds available, starting now.
A hot dog is a member of the sausage family. Tends to be pink or even redder, needs mustard desperately, is served on a roll, very seldom with tomato ketchup, which would benefit the overall taste of a hot dog. Hot dogs are also canines who are sitting out in the sun and therefore need an umbrella to shield them, or perhaps a fan to wave in front of its face and back, so that the overall temperature of that animal can be reduced. Hot dogs I love at football matches, baseball games, hockey tournaments. I can think of few more delicious, delectable, and more...
Right. And so Clement Freud, then speaking as the whistle went, gained that extra point, and he got other points in the round, and that magnificent round of applause indicates their appreciation of his wonderful tour de force. And we're moving into the final round. Sheila Hancock's just trailing a little behind, 1 point behind Tony Hawks, who's 1 point behind Victor Spinetti, who's been leading all along until now, but he is a point or two behind Clement Freud, who's now in the lead. But Victor, we'd like you to take this final round, and the subject is chasing rainbows. Will you tell us something about chasing rainbows in this game starting now?
Chasing rainbows is something that I think everybody in this country is doing. You cannot turn on a television program without someone saying, phone us and win £1,000. Or we have a car, or whatever you wish, not wash. Forget it, go home, Victor.
You don't correct yourself in this thing, you just keep going, Victor. Sheila, you challenge.
Yeah, well, it was kind of hesitation and repetition.
Wishy-washy,
yes, it was wishy-washy.
Just could do better, really.
Yeah.
Oh, that's mean. He's done so well. He was leading up until this round.
He's brilliant. He's brilliant.
I know. We love him. And the audience love him even more.
Yeah, well, it's all got very nationalistic, hasn't it, the game?
Well, why not? We brought him up here to represent the Principality, and he's doing it like...
But with a name like Spinetti... doesn't seem right.
My grandfather walked from northern Italy. He only had the money for the boat to work in the pitted Aster gun lice outside Swansea. And I couldn't be more Welsh than that.
Unless you'd had a Welsh dad.
No,
Sheila had a correct challenge. She has 45 seconds on...
What's the subject?
I'm just about to remind you, my darling.
Right, okay.
It's chasing rainbows. Chasing rainbows. Right. 45 seconds, starting now.
I'm forever chasing rainbows. That's not the right words of the song.
Victor challenge.
I didn't know this show was a musical.
It's not a musical.
Nor did Sheila.
So what is your challenge,
I should
Victor?
get a point now for hitting me.
What is your challenge?
I thought when she was singing hesitatingly. and deviating from the tune.
It was very moving. I was thinking of moving to the theatre.
They hadn't thought of it as deviation. I think I should keep the subject.
Victor, he had.
Yes, it was.
And you have 37 seconds, Victor, on chasing rainbows starting now.
I don't believe
Victor, you've challenged yourself. So, Victor, I have to ask you, what was your challenge?
Well, I really had nothing to say.
So that was hesitation?
Hesitation.
Yes, well, that's the correct challenge. So you get a point for a correct challenge. But please don't make a habit of it, it could ruin the show. So you have another point. You have 36 seconds. Chasing rainbows starting now.
Chasing...
Clement Freud challenge.
That was it.
That was hesitation, yes. So, Clement, you have 35 seconds on Chasing Rainbows starting now.
I think it's a very good idea to sing slowly. Someday over the rainbow.
Tony challenged.
Yes, sing slowly. I'm not quite sure what he was doing there. I don't know. We can't call that singing, can we? Really?
Yeah.
That's a sort of...
What is yours? Deviation or what?
Deviation from
the tune.
Actually, I've had enough of the singing in this game. I think it's bringing it down.
Was, yes, a deviation from the tune as well. So 29 seconds with you, Tony. Chasing Rainbows starting now.
Rainbow was a children's programme at school when I was little, and that doesn't make much sense, but I'll keep going. And I used to chase it, in the sense that I would go to the presenters' houses and shock them when they were in their front gardens and run after them all the way up the road until...
Clement challenged.
A repetition of them.
Yes. And you have 12 seconds on Chasing Rainbows starting now.
The acronym VIBGYOR, which stands for violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red, are the colours of the rainbow. Try to remember that, and when you next come to Wales, look into the sky.
So Clement Freud was then speaking as the whistle went and gained that extra point, and with others in the round, he has moved forward. Let me give you the final situation. Sheila Hancock, who does so well when she cares in the show, even though she puts herself down.
Don't patronise me, Neil.
Darling, I couldn't patronise you. You're far too talented. But you did today finish in 4th place, which is most unusual. You were only just 1 point behind Tony Hawks, who triumphed last time we were in Wales, and Tony Hawks is 2 points behind Victor Spinetti, who says he can't play the game, but he came in a magnificent 2nd place. But just out in the lead was Clement Freud. We say, Clement, you are the winner this week. So it's only remains for me to say thank you to our 4 delightful, intrepid players of the game, Victor Spinetti, Sheila Hancock, Tony Hawks and Clement Freud. I thank Janet Staplehurst, who sat beside me and blown her whistle with such delicacy. We are indebted to Ian Messiter, who created this game. We thank our producer-director, Claire Jones, and we thank this lovely, delightful, laughing audience here at Theatre Clwyd in Mold, North Wales, who cheered us on our way. From them, from me, Nicholas Parsons, and our panel, goodbye. Tune in the next time we play Just a Minute.
The next week, Just a Minute returns to the Kenton Theatre in Henley-on-Thames, where Nicholas Parsons will be joined by Paul Merton, Clement Freud, Gyles Brandreth and Jenny Eclair.
Welcome to Just a Minute. Thank you. Hello, my name is Nicholas Parsons, and as the minute waltz fades away, once more it is my pleasure to welcome our many listeners around the world who tune into Radio 4. But most importantly, it is a pleasure to welcome the 4 exciting, talented, provocative players of this game who've come together to show their wit and their humour and their verbal ingenuity and even dexterity as they try and speak on a subject that I will give them, and do that without hesitation, repetition or deviation. And those 4 people are seated on my right, Paul Merton and Clement Freud, and seated on my left, Jenny Eclair and Gyles Brandreth. Please welcome all 4 of them. And seated beside me is Janet Staplehurst, who's going to help me keep the score and blow a whistle when the 60 seconds have elapsed. And this particular edition of Just a Minute is coming from the Kenton Theatre in lovely Henley-on-Thames in that delightful county of Oxfordshire. And as you can realise, we have an audience who are loyal and devoted to their county. And they've come to cheer us on our way and longing for us to start. So we'll begin with Clement Freud. Clement, the subject we've got here, very apt for just a minute, bluffing. Talk on that subject in this game if you can, starting now.
The message came asking me to call on Her Majesty at Buckingham Palace. And when I arrived, Her Majesty, she, the Queen, said...
Gyles challenge.
I want to hear more, but I think I heard Her Majesty twice.
I'm afraid Her Majesty did come in twice. I mean, she can come in as many times as she likes, because she is the Queen, but you can't repeat her in just a minute. So, Gyles, you got in with the correct challenge. You take a point for that, of course, and you have 50 seconds to talk on bluffing starting now.
When I say that a slight inclination of the cranium is as adequate as a spasmodic movement of one optic to an equine quadruped utterly devoid of any visionary capacity, when I mean a nod's as good as a wink to a blind horse, I am, of course, bluffing. That's my way of doing it. When people ask me what my profession is and I tell them I'm a dentist, I'm also indulging in bluffing. In that case, it's actually rather useful because they then back away from me and cover their mouths so that I don't have to actually see their dentures nor smell what reeks from them, which can be uncomfortable. The art of bluffing also is involved in gardening. If you have a great sweep of sward ahead of you and you haven't got a ha-ha that you can fall into... It's one word. It's one word.
No way. He spotted it. No, it's either I think it's hyphenated, actually. It is. And we have our literary expert.
We have with us.
We have a literary expert in the audience who has confirmed it. So very well listened, Clement. Yes, repetition of ha. 12 seconds for you on bluffing, starting now.
Gladstone was called at the age of 82 to lead this.
Paul.
Did we not have called before? Called to the palace?
Yes, you were called to the palace. Last time you were.
And also, if I may say so, 82 is a hyphenated word.
Paul, you have the subject. You have 8 seconds on bluffing, starting now.
I remember the biggest bluff I ever played. It was the massive tournament in Las Vegas. Poker was being played on the cards.
Gyles, do you have a challenge first?
Played.
Yes, played twice.
Absolutely.
And you've got in, Gyles, with 2 seconds to go. Oh. Bluffing with you, Gyles, and another point. 2 seconds, starting now.
As you sit at the Monopoly board, I find...
So, at the end of that round, the person who's spoken most, including speaking when the whistle went, he gets an extra point for that, is Gyles Brandreth, so he's in a strong lead at the end of the round. And Gyles, we'd like you to take the next round. I don't know whether this is a subject that's going to bring out the feminine side of your nature, but I've got in front of me how to iron a shirt. Could you tell us something about that subject in this game, starting now?
Apparently, some housewives enjoy doing their work in the nude. I think when it comes to ironing, this is a risky proposition. My belief is that one should actually iron a shirt by being very rich and having someone else to do it for you, or by joining the army, where you will be taught how to iron a shirt by a hairy sergeant major who will bark at you as you attempt to erect your ironing board. My favourite episode of Billy Bunter was the one where he was taught to iron a shirt by Mr. Quelch. Oh, crikey, he went, as he burnt himself. His little dainty fingers were actually caught on the enormously hot iron.
Clement challenge.
He has said actually before.
Yes, you have said actually before. Okay. Clement, correct challenge. 17 seconds available. How to iron a shirt, starting now.
I understand you start at the top and work right down to the end of the sleeve, being careful to miss the cuffs. Otherwise, they might burst into flames, especially...
A poor challenge.
Deviation. I mean, I've not ironed many shirts, but...
Obviously.
But the cuffs don't burst into flames.
No. I don't think they burst into flames.
They might do if they're made out of gelignite, but presumably they're not.
But you didn't establish that you have an overheated iron which would burst into flames. No, I don't think it's possible. Though, so I give the benefit of the doubt to Paul. They wouldn't burst into flames. So you have a point, Paul, and the subject. 5 seconds.
You'll be sorry.
Please, it's not worth breaking up a beautiful friendship just over this show.
I know it isn't really, but
No.
I've got to be fair within the rules of just
Yeah,
a minute.
haven't you?
And so, Paul, it's you to speak on how to iron a shirt. 5 seconds ago, starting now.
I once attended a conference at the Royal Albert Hall where Billy Graham stood up and said, I will show you how to...
So Paul Merton was then speaking as the whistle went, gained that extra point, and he's now in second place behind Gyles Brandreth, then Clement Freud and Jenny. And Jenny, it's your turn to talk. In fact, I think it's your first. No, we have heard from you already, but now talk.
I'm going to take my hands off the buzzer. That's a good start, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, it is.
Don't challenge yourself.
I'll try not to.
My favourite spot. I suppose you can take that any way you like, but talk on the subject, Jenny. 60 seconds, starting now.
I'm sitting on it. It's called a G-spot, but considering this is Radio 4 and I think it might be on the verge of falling out, I think I shall move on. My favourite spot is a silver bean bag in front of the television where I like to place my buttocks in my pyjamas with a lovely fork dinner, like a shepherd's pie, watching the telly, something mind-numbing like Big Brother, so I can be superior and make sneery comments. Ha, look at the idiots. I'm so comfy on this piece of furniture. Sometimes I drag it out onto the patio. Oh, how lucky I am to have a favourite spot in my own house. Other people have to go to Niagara Falls and places.
Clement, challenge.
Deviation, surely her patio's outside her own house.
Yes, what about it?
She said, in my own house.
Well, it's got folding doors. And it shares the same floor. Because I've got a polished concrete floor that goes... Honestly.
I think if it's that important, she ought to keep it.
Yes.
I think what I'll do is to give her the benefit of the doubt, and if I can redress the balance in your favour sometime, Clement, I will, and ask her to carry on with 25 seconds to go on my favourite spot, starting now.
I haven't got any other favourite spots.
So, Clement, you've got in this time.
Deviation.
Deviation, hesitation, whatever you like. And you have my favourite spot, 23 seconds, starting now.
I suppose my favourite spot is on the Suffolk coast. Go down from Norfolk, Great Yarmouth, Lowestoft, Southwold, Walberswick, Dunwich, Westleton, Aldeburgh, all the way to Clacton, and my favourite spot is the village of Walberswick at the end of the River Blythe, where I have a house and a wife and 4 children.
So Clement Freud, speaking as a whistle, went, gained that extra point, and he got the emotion of the audience with him of a huge applause. And you're 1 point behind Gyles Brandreth, who's still in the lead, and 1 ahead of Paul Merton. And Paul, your turn to begin. Sudoku. Very popular at the moment. I don't know if you've ever played it, but try and talk on the subject starting now.
I haven't played the game, actually, but I understand it's become a bit of a craze in the last 3 or 4 months. You see various people trying to fit the numbers between 1 and 9 into various grids. I don't really understand the appeal of it other than that. Crosswords seem to be so much better, but I will talk about Sudoku with a knowledgeable look in my eye, and perhaps I'll be able to bluff Nicholas into thinking that I'm knowing what I'm talking about. Sudoku was invented in 1927 by a man called Alf Roberts. He used to be the mayor in Coronation Street, but then he got fed up of that, and he ended up inventing this game that was very big in Japan. The best way to play it, the biggest game he's ever bought, it was 2 elephants and a huge giant tumbler. You have to throw the dice first of all to get a 6, and the first one up the ladder gets the chance to go on the snakes. Once you've done that, you realise, of course, the king cannot be in check once the queen's bishop is outside of the croquet hoop, and it's through pushing the ball through that hoop that you can make the bell ring and tilt comes up and you know you've won the big prize. Sudoku started off, first of all, as a beach ball carved in the shape of an onion in Tokyo in 1963. It's been a car, a motorbike, an opera singer, and also a plate of beans.
Paul went magnificently on the subject with some generous understanding from the panel, but it was so magnificent. And Jenny, you buzzed then with 1 second to go.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is to say, Paul, we loved it so much. We give you the point as if you were speaking when the whistle went. So you get a bonus point for doing that. Jenny would get a point for coming in just before the whistle, and she's got 1 second to tell us.
So what's Jenny's challenge?
It was repetition of hoop. You said hoop twice.
You did have more than 1 hoop, actually.
Did I?
You hooped up.
You probably
Not
had
like
half
me.
it, Daddy. You probably don't remember anything you said. Jenny, Sudoku with you, 1 second starting
Cara
now.
Vorderman is a great big fan.
So at the end of that round, it's all very even. Gyles 1 point ahead of Clement and Paul, and 2 ahead of Jenny. And Clement, your turn to begin. The subject now is the most enigmatic person I know. You have 60 seconds as usual, starting now.
I'm rather torn between Sven-Göran Eriksson, the England football manager, and my grandson, Charlie Freud Curtis, who is 3, and said to his father, I would like to make bedtime history.
Paul challenged.
It was sadly hesitation.
It was sadly
No,
hesitation.
it's all I had to say.
And Paul, You have the subject.
Yes, I
it
do.
is the most enigmatic person I know, and there are 45 seconds starting now.
Undoubtedly, the most enigmatic person I know is Nicholas Parsons. During the war, he was working under the name of Pandora Wilkins. Unfortunately for the Nazis, he was a good friend of Lord Hoare, but you know how the rest of it went. Meanwhile, I've often thought perhaps the most enigmatic person I've ever met, now I come to think of it, is none other than Clement Freud. What a man of great achievement. He has been, amongst many years, a gourmet, a nightclub...
Clement challenge.
Repetition of many.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pity because he was about to pay us some lovely compliments.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
But Clement, correct challenge. 23 seconds on the most enigmatic person I know, starting now. The most enigmatic person I know. Paul, you challenge.
Yeah, only because Clement's pressed my button. I want to make it clear there, what I mean is Clement pressed my button, that's all I mean. This one here, the one that goes...
That's
one.
right.
That's what
And the audience saw it, so they're in the know.
Yeah.
Now we've explained that to the listeners. They're in the know. And what is your challenge?
My challenge?
Yes.
Hesitation.
Hesitation is correct, yes. And a sporting gesture on the part of Clement. And don't return it, otherwise we'll get chaos here. It'll all get completely out of hand. Happy to orchestrate chaos, but it can go too far. 23 seconds, Paul, on the most enigmatic person I know, starting now.
Yes, chaos can go too far indeed. When I look around this audience here, I see a third in the row there. Look, there's a gentleman there with a very enigmatic look in his...
Giles challenge.
Repetition of there.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
There. Ooh, yes. Well, listen, Giles.
Obviously, the rules can be changed. I mean,
14 seconds for you, Giles, on the most enigmatic person I know, starting now.
I once travelled in a lift with Michael Jackson, who did not say a word. His mind has explained to me that he is always silent on a Monday. When the lady sitting next to Calvin Coolidge said to him, I imagine I can get 3 words out of him, he said, now you'll lose.
So, Giles, with points in the round, including one for speaking as a whistle went, has moved forward. He's only 1 ahead of Paul Merton, who's only 1 ahead of Clement Freud, and he's 3 ahead of Jenny Eclair. And Giles, it's your turn to begin. The subject is the Regatta. The Regatta, Giles, with you, starting now.
People of sophistication know that the only regatta in the world that counts is indeed the Henley Regatta, founded, I believe, in 1839, and given royal approval in 1851 when Prince Albert came.
Jenny challenge.
Repetition of 18.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
No, it's 1 word.
No, it isn't.
1859 is a date.
Yes, it's 1859. If you write it, you put down 18 and you put 59.
You don't do it all in one, Giles.
You don't do it all in one. If it's in numerals, it's all one, but you don't... we are playing... And so you can't speak numerals.
All right, I'm giving it to you.
Well,
I'm giving it to you. I'm obviously going to wait a little later till I do that, but you know what I mean.
She's legitimately won it by listening well.
You're right.
The regatta's with you, Jenny. 49 seconds starting now.
How odd. I've never been invited. You have to be very careful as a woman because your skirt...
Paul
I
challenge.
don't think that's particularly odd. Don't start booing Jenny. You haven't invited her, now you're booing her.
I would normally give you a bonus point for a good laugh there, but I think in this circumstance... I think you upset Jenny a little, so we'll give Jenny the bonus point instead. And tell her that she has 46 seconds, the regatta, starting now.
You have to be very careful if you're a woman because your skirt's got to be on your knee. If it's above, they say you must not come into the equation.
Paul challenge.
Should it be around your waist? On your knee? It's a bit forward, isn't it?
I think...
Sorry, Jenny, was that funny, or was that all right?
It was funny, Paul.
I think... No, it was very funny. It was apt. It was true. I mean, most people do wear their skirts around their waist. I don't know what Jenny does, but... Paul, a correct challenge this time. The regatta's with you, and there are 41 seconds starting now.
Every year you can see Boris Johnson floating on his back. It's a wonderful sight. Full of beer, coming all the way from the Houses of Parliament, floats all the way down the Thames until he gets to Henley.
Clement challenge.
2 ways. 2 all the way.
All the way. Yes, there were 2 ways.
Somebody's out there says it was 3.
32 seconds for the regatta with you, Clement, starting now.
On the 11th of July, MCLX1, I went to the Henley Regatta and it was fantastic. Too late, they said. Finished yesterday. I went back to London.
Gyles,
Repetition of went.
Yes. Two wents then, Clement.
Yep.
And Gyles, you have the regatta back with you. 17 seconds starting now.
The Princess Royal loves coming to the regatta because she fancies the oarsmen something rotten. She has the hots for them. She stands at the side, looking rather regal in the presence of the Mayor of Henley, and she sees these gorgeous creatures.
Paul challenge.
There was a lot of she's.
Yeah.
A lot of she's.
Is she the cat's mother?
I mean, we let one or two go, but 3 or 4, no. Right, Paul, another point to you. 5 seconds, the regatta starting now.
With a straw boater in my hand and a striped blazer, I walk towards the Thames and I say, throw me!
Right, at the end of that round, Paul Merton has taken the lead, 1 ahead of Gyles, Brandreth, and 2 or 3 ahead of Clement, Freud, and Jenny Eclair. And I should point out to our listeners, because our audience here can see it, that in honour of the occasion I put on my Henley blazer. And nobody has sent me up for it, but it's a nice stripy blazer. But
I thought it was a barcode. You take that to the supermarket, you get a tin of beans.
It does look a little bit like that, I do admit it, but it's nice and cool for a hot day. And Clement's got something to say.
Is it true that you kissed the cocks of the winning crew?
I don't think you should bring your private life into this comment.
Who are you asking that question of? Nicholas. Oh, Nicholas, all right. Yeah. Do you have your skirt on your knee? I bet you do, don't you?
I'm still enjoying the joke, actually. I'm a bit caught up. Right, where are we? I think we'll carry on with the show. Right, Jenny, your turn to begin. The subject is making a claim, starting now.
The only claim I've ever made was for a silver golf, which was snatched from me at knife point. Fortunately, since then, touch wood. Oh, Nicholas, I can't reach your head. What a shame. I haven't had to do that making claim thing. Lots of people pretend they've lost things they haven't, like fur coats.
Gyles challenge.
Hesitation, but previously there was deviation of quite bizarre kind.
Quite worrying.
Said
Quite
touch
worrying.
wood, and I was going to touch Nicholas's head.
Oh, I see.
It was a poor joke.
It looked more psychotic than that.
I was quite worried.
Which is your challenge, Gyles?
Hesitation.
No, she didn't hesitate.
Oh, well.
So you can't have it. No, you can't have a second challenge.
Well, there was the deviation as well.
I did psychosis.
No, you can't have a subsequent
I thought
challenge.
I had hesitation.
Otherwise you could go through everything and eventually find something, can't you? Right, so Jenny, the first challenge was incorrect, so you keep the subject. 45 seconds making a claim starting now.
Love those adverts on the telly, the ones that say, have you had an accident at work? Take Sheila Robinson. She fell over on some yoghurt in the supermarket where she works. We gave her £25,000 for her embarrassment because she showed the tops of her legs and ripped knee cartilage. Then they show you a photo of a smiling lady and you think, oh, wish I could trip over some spilt dairy product and claim a fat wad.
Oh, right, Judge.
I think there was hesitation this time.
I think there was this time, yes. I know you were enjoying it, but there are rules in just a minute, and I do have to abide by them, and Gyles, that is a correct challenge. So you have 20 seconds on making a claim starting now.
When I made my claim to be a Shakespearean actor, I failed, because I essayed the role of the moody Dane, and the audience threw eggs at me. I went on as Hamlet and came off as Omelette. It was a humiliating experience. I've never made any claims against insurance because I don't possess anything and don't really believe that one should be asking money for things that have been lost or broken, usually due to one's own negligence.
It's a wicked game. You make a joke within just a minute and you have to speak through it, which Gyles did magnificently. He kept going to the whistle when gained that extra point. He's now 1 ahead of Paul Merton in that situation. And Paul, it's your turn to begin. The subject now is great escapes. Tell us something about that in this game starting now.
If we think back to the football match, the European Cup final played earlier this year when Liverpool were 3-0 down at half-time to AC Milan, what a great escape it was that they were able to score another slightly less than 4 but between 2 goals themselves and take it to extra time where eventually they won on penalties. When we hear of the great escape, we think inevitably of the film starring Steve McQueen, who on his motorbike jumps over the barbed wire at the end only to be caught up in that tangled metal as a German stand next to him. It's also the bloke I feel sorry for is a bloke who gets on the...
You were going so well.
Yeah, I was, wasn't I?
But you were getting faster and faster.
Yeah, that's a bit of a mistake, though, isn't it?
It's a bit of a mistake, yes. But Jenny, you challenged first.
He said bloke twice.
Yes, he'd say bloke. 28 seconds, Jenny. Great escapes starting now.
I had a great escape.
Paul challenge.
Can I just wish Jenny good luck?
Thank you, Paul.
Right, Jenny, you've been wished good luck and you've lost another second, which is useful. 27 seconds. Great escape starting now.
In Miss Selfridge the other day, I got trapped in a changing room in a tiny size 10 dress. I had to bite my way out of it. What a great escape that was. Other great escapes.
Gyles challenge.
I felt there was hesitation.
No, there wasn't. No.
I'm just too close to her mouth. That's the problem.
Gyles can just hear me breathing. That's
yes,
what I was doing.
Yes, because you're sitting on the same side of the stage. But no, I gave the benefit of the doubt to you last time. The benefit goes to Jenny on this occasion.
Very, very
and she's making herself comfortable now. And there are 15 seconds, Jenny. Great escapes starting now.
Houdini was meant to be really good at escapology. This is the sort of thing where you get knotted up in ropes and... yeah, you are right. Yes. I was wrong. I went.
There was hesitation.
There was hesitation there. Gyles, the great escapes. 8 seconds starting now.
The lawyer who couldn't tell the difference between arson and incest and set fire to his sister was somebody who had a great escape when he arrived at court and found that the judge was dyslexic.
So, we're moving into the final round, so I give you the situation as we do so. Clement Freud is just in 4th place. He's 2 points behind Jenny Eclair, who's in a strong 3rd position. Only 1 point behind Paul Merton, but 3 points ahead in the lead is Gyles Brandreth, and Clement Freud, it's your turn to begin. The subject is Bachelors. Tell us something about Bachelors in this game starting now.
The Bachelors are a singing group, a company that cans not terribly good peas, and young men or people of any kind, who are unmarried. Now,
Jenny challenge.
I think actually it's deviation because it is men, because he said it men or people of any kind, but it is men that are bachelors, because lady bachelors are called spinsters.
Yes, I know that.
I know that, because I am.
But I don't think he was conveying that women could be bachelors. I don't think
he said bachelors
Bachelor women.
No, I don't think he's... No.
They can be bachelors of arts, you see, as well.
Oh, I'm sorry, I take it back, I apologise.
Yes, he did make it quite clear. He was talking about the male sex.
I'd like a lot of points to catch.
You will get 1 for an incorrect challenge, Clement. And 46 seconds, Bachelor starting now.
I have several bachelor grandchildren, none of whom are wed or married.
Paul challenge.
I didn't.
I challenge. Can I marry one of his grandsons? Because they're very well connected and will probably inherit well.
Yeah. Have you a challenge?
No, I'd just like to make that offer known.
Oh, what a pity, because you did hesitate. And
he hesitated.
No, too late now, my darling. You've given me another challenge. So Clement
you could put a card in a newsagent's window near where some of Clement's children live.
I'll do that.
Yes. 38 seconds still available. Bachelors with you, Clement, starting now.
Marrying children beneath the age of consent is actually something which no one should even entertain.
Paul challenge.
Hesitation.
That was definite hesitation, yes. So, Paul, you have the subject. You have 30 seconds. Bachelors starting now.
The Bachelors singing group are very popular. They had a hit in 1963 with Diane, which was a huge, massive song for them at the time, and they were rivaling the Beatles when it came to various chart-topping records. They split up, unfortunately. 2 of them were brothers, and 1 was a cousin, and the other one that wasn't related to the other...
Giles challenge.
The other one.
The other one,
one.
Yes.
Really?
There were too many ones.
Was there?
Yes, was there, yes.
I'm a fool to myself, aren't I?
Gyles, you've got 13 seconds, Bachelor, starting now. Yes, and Paul, you challenge.
Deviation, because it was Jenny that made the challenge, and you gave the point to Gyles.
No, I made the challenge, but Jenny spoke on my behalf because I felt it was time we heard from her.
Yes.
Actually, Gyles, so that was hesitation, was it, Paul?
Yes.
Right. So you've got the subject back again, haven't you?
What?
Yeah.
No, there was a little confusion, only because you seem to accept the challenge from Jenny, even though I'd pressed the buzzer first.
Actually, Jenny,
I think it's a problem, us doing this programme in the dark. I think they should switch on the lights. I know they've...
No, don't put on the lights, because we're doing it in a nude.
Jenny's light came on first.
Yeah, she's like that.
So she did eliminate your light.
Jenny's light always comes on first.
She lights up. So, Paul, you have 12 seconds on Bachelors starting now.
My bachelor days weren't particularly happy. I think of myself living in bedsits in the 1980s, on my own, eating...
Clement challenged.
Deviation.
Why?
You can only live in one bedsit.
No,
I've moved from one bedsit to the other.
You didn't
There's more than
that.
one bedsit in London. I know, there's at least two, 'cause I've been in them.
And Bachelors starting now.
White bread that I bought from the supermarket and used to spread the most ghastly fish paste all over it.
I will now give you the final score, which is extraordinarily close. Only just in fourth place was Jenny Eclair, just ahead was Clement Freud, but then just ahead again was Gyles Brandreth, and only 1 point ahead again was Paul Merton. So it only remains for me to say thank you to these four delightful players of the game and enthusiastic and eager players of the game, which is Paul Merton, Jenny Eclair, Gyles Brandreth and Clement Freud. I thank Janet Staplehurst, who's helped me with the score. She's blown her whistle with great elegance. And we thank our producer, Claire Jones. We're indebted to Ian Messiter, who created this lovely game. And we are grateful to this lovely audience here at the Kenton Theatre in Henley-on-Thames, who've cheered us on our way. From our audience, from me, Nicholas Parsons, and the panel, goodbye. Tune in the next time we play Just a Minute.
And next week, Just a Minute comes from the Edinburgh Festival, where Nicholas Parsons will be joined by Clement Freud, Paul Merton.
Welcome to Just a Minute. Thank you. Hello, my name is Nicholas Parsons, and as the minute waltz fades away, once more it is my huge pleasure to welcome our many listeners, not only in this country, but throughout the world, but also to welcome to the show this week four talented, exciting personalities who this week are going to play Just a Minute. It's always a pleasure to welcome back that individual and sometimes surreal comedian, Paul Merton, and sitting beside him on my right is that enigmatic and charismatic character, Clement Freud, and seated on my left we have two who's, of course, the veteran of the game, because on my left we have two people who are quite new to the game. Owen O'Neill has never played it before, a novice in this one, a talented comedian, writer, performer, an individual, and beside him there is an amazing musician, actor, writer, and all-round good egg, and that is Bill Bailey. Will you please welcome all four of them? I'm going to ask them to speak on a subject which I will give them, and they will try and do that without hesitation, repetition, or deviating. And beside me sits Janet Staplehurst, who's going to help me keep the score. She'll blow a whistle when the 60 seconds have elapsed. And this particular edition of Just a Minute is coming from one of the venues at the Pleasance on the Edinburgh Festival Fringe. And by the way, four of the people here all have shows on this year's Fringe, except for one, that's Clement Freud, who's still working on his. And we have in front of us a wonderful, excited, hyped-up Festival Fringe audience, ready for us to get started. So let's begin with Paul Merton. Paul, a dream come true. That is the subject. Talk on it if you can. 60 seconds, starting now.
Appearing on Just a Minute here at the Edinburgh Fringe is very much a dream come true. When I used to live in the bedsits in the 1980s, those particular places dotted around London, Streatham, I lived for quite a few times, I would...
Clement challenged.
Yeah, repetition of lived.
You lived there too much.
That's the rub it in. It was 8 years.
So, Clement, a correct challenge. You get a point for that. You take over the subject. There are 50 seconds still available. A dream come true, starting now.
A dream come true would mean switching on Channel 4 on my television set and learning the Australians were all out for 18. But it is unlikely to occur because currently they're doing incredibly well, and this is of no interest to anyone because by the time this Just a Minute is broadcast, it'll be winter and nobody will remember.
Paul challenge.
Well, deviation, because in fact it's being broadcast the day after we make it. So
absolutely, it is being transmitted
Nobody told me.
My Titanic sunk the other day, did you hear that? All the papers.
Yes, for those in the audience who are interested, you can listen to it at 6:30 on Monday, the 29th of August. Is that right? 29th, tomorrow? Thank you very much, audience. Bill, you challenge?
Hesitation.
Yes, it was. Give Bill a bonus point because we enjoy the interruption.
Oh.
Paul, you had a correct challenge. You get a point for that. You take back the subject, a dream come true, and 27 seconds available starting now.
In the 1960s, when I danced in Sir Clement's arms at the Café Royal, Paris, who would have thought then that all those...
Deviation.
We were inspired.
Bill, your challenge is deviation what?
Well, deviation of one sort. I mean, yeah.
Really?
It was a form of deviation, yes.
Is that right? Are there subsections
yes,
of each
Clement,
individual?
Clement led. There was nothing funny about it.
Oh, right. Sorry, I'll take it back.
Bill, it's one of those things where you have to give the benefit of the doubt on occasions. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt to you because it was a very devious idea. And I don't believe, anyway, he actually danced in Clement Freud's arms. I mean...
You've always been jealous, haven't you?
No, that's it. So, Bill, you get a point for a correct challenge. You have 21 seconds. A dream come true, starting now.
Once in Hammersmith in West London, I was sitting in a park and I looked down and there was an egg cup in my hand and it had Lambrusco in it. And I went to sip the wine that was in the vessel and I just touched it to my lips. And I woke up and it was not, in fact, a dream. I was actually in a park drinking Lambrusco.
Paul challenge.
Sadly, repetition of park.
Yes,
park, sorry,
yes.
yes.
Go back to emphasise the park, which is difficult in just a minute. But, Paul, you've cleverly gone in with 2 seconds to go. A dream come true.
It's like you can boo altogether. It doesn't matter. Quite sensitive. It doesn't matter.
2 seconds. Dream come true, starting now.
As I wallowed towards the great fields of...
In this game, whoever is speaking when the whistle goes gains an extra point. On this occasion was Paul Merton, who you must realise has now got a lead at the end of that round. Bill Bailey is following, then Clement Freud, then Owen. In fact, Owen's yet to speak, but there's a chance yet.
Hello.
Hello, right. Give him a bonus point for his hello. And we're up in Scotland, we have to have some Scottish subjects. So, Bill, will you take the next round? And the subject is the Tartan Army. Oh. And the time... 60 seconds. Time starts now.
The Tartan Army is a term which is commonly used to refer to the travelling band of Scottish football fans. But it also could refer to a combat operation that were clad in such apparel, which would offer little or no camouflage.
Oh, you were the first to challenge.
Hesitation.
Yes, there was a definite which
my normal speech pattern, I'm a bit...
Right. So, Owen, good to hear from you. Great, 43 seconds are available. Tell us something about the Tartan Army, starting now.
The Tartan Army is also a band of people that used to follow the Bay City Rollers around in the 1973s. 73s!
Don't repeat.
No. Don't repeat, though, but yes, that's right.
That's right.
I know, we've got to watch it. So, Clement, you challenge first. I think we know the challenge. Take over the subject. 36 seconds, the Tartan Army, starting now.
1873 was a terrifically good year for the Tartan Army, but not as 1912, which excelled. People wearing kilts in tartans followed...
Bill, challenge.
Tartans? Repetition of,
The in tart.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's a very clever and ingenious try, but I can't allow it, Bill.
Right.
But we give you a bonus. But they enjoyed the interruption. It wasn't exactly a challenge.
I see.
So, Clement, you... Ooh. You try running the game without appearing pompous on occasions. Right.
Okay.
Right. Clement, you therefore had an incorrect challenge, and you have 23 seconds to continue with the Tartan Army, starting now.
What is so uplifting about the Tartan Army is their enthusiasm has absolutely nothing to do with the incompetence or otherwise of the Scottish football team. Whether they concede 3, 4, 5 or 6 goals without any response, the chaps from the Tartan Army cheer and drink.
Owen challenged.
It's deviation. Scotland have actually won a game in the last year.
Well, they have won a game, but I think the point he was making, Owen, was that...
they were really bad. And I think the Scottish people here are going to get very angry in a minute.
But Clement doesn't mind that.
Oh.
He enjoys confrontation. I think, actually, it was a good challenge to Owen, but it basically...
Really?
Yes. It was a good challenge, but I'm not going to allow it.
On this side, we thought it was crap.
So, Clement, you have another point, and you have 4 seconds on the Tartan army starting now.
In the regular army.
And Bill's challenge.
Regular. Repetition of Egular.
Oh, Bill, you're trying too hard. Clement,
okay, sorry. I'll take a point off.
No, we don't take them away. We just add 3 seconds, the Tartan army starting now.
Sergeant, Lieutenant, Captain, Colonel.
So, Clement Freud, keeping going to the whistle when getting the extra point, and with a little help from his friends here, has gained a number of points in that round, and he's now in the lead ahead of Paul Merton and Bill Bailey. And Owen O'Neill, it's your turn to begin. And the subject is how to greet an ex. You have 60 seconds as usual, and you start now.
The best way to greet an ex is to jump wildly out of the way. Because it is very dangerous when this particular implement comes into the room, especially if you have not used it before. You can grab the X in both hands and spread your legs really wildly, and you can wear a pair of goggles. I said spread your legs wildly, which is right, actually. If you're going to challenge for that point.
No. What was your challenge, Bill? You were the first to challenge.
Wily. I was going to say wily. That's deviation of wildly, but maybe
you can spread your legs in a wily manner.
In a wily way.
Yeah, of course you can.
What? So somebody's not aware of them?
Yeah, absolutely.
Disguise them as an old woman.
That's exactly what I meant.
You mean it was wily because it was provocative and encouraging?
Yes,
exactly.
Right.
All right. Well, fair enough.
Then, if that's your justification, I will allow you to have it. You get a point, and you keep the subject. 39 seconds. How to greet an ex, starting now.
How to greet an ex? You can spread your legs wily.
Well, you mustn't repeat things.
Oh, I see. Well, I thought I had another go.
No, but you can't repeat what you've already said in this round.
Right.
You can repeat it in another round.
Yeah.
You can that'll work into another subject. You can put it in, but not in this round.
Well, you better let me off again, because I didn't know that.
Well, as you didn't know it's the first time, I'm sure Paul's always very sporty. We like to go back to where you were, which was 33 seconds, wasn't it? How to greet an ex, and the 39 seconds starting now. Paul, you challenge.
Hesitation.
Yeah, it didn't start that time.
That's right, Jay.
Right.
Well done, Paul.
So, Paul, another point to you. 33 seconds on how to greet an ex, starting now.
The best way to greet an ex is to spread your legs widely and say, Sir Clement, at last we meet after all these years. Who can forget that dance at the Café Paris? Oh, it was wonderful. You were resplendent in your tuxedo, and I was there in a 1950s cocktail dress.
Clement challenge.
I thought he was in my tuxedo.
Clement,
Actually, Clement, he did establish quite early on that you were taking the male role when we were talking before.
Oh, yes. In another round a long time ago.
Yeah. But therefore, it is an incorrect challenge. Because you were in the dress, weren't you, Paul?
Yes, right.
Right. 18 seconds. How to greet an ex, Paul, starting now.
I suppose it all depends on how the relationship broke up. If you were the one that dumped, or if you were the dumpee.
Clement challenge.
Two if you were's.
That's right, if you were. So, Clement, you got in with 12 seconds to go on how to greet an ex, starting now.
Well, you don't say hello, ex, if you remember who she was. What you tend to do is you say, surely this is a familiar face that I see before me. What is your inside leg measurement?
So Clement Freud was speaking as a whistle when gained that extra point. He's increased his lead slightly over Paul Merton, followed by Bill Bailey and Owen O'Neill. And Clement, it is also your turn to begin. Keeping on the Scottish theme now, what I love about the Scots. You've already said about the Tartan army. Let's hear the other side of the coin. 60 seconds starting now.
What I love about the Scots is their total un-Welshness. The fact that they are hardly Irish at all, and that we in Lowestoft and Yarmouth look up to them because after William the Conqueror landed at Hastings, the acute Angles turned north, and got here, whereas the obtuse ones went straight on to Somerset, Wiltshire, Devon and Cornwall. What I love about the Scots is the fact that they have Harris Tweed.
Paul Challenge.
There was a hesitation there.
It was.
Yeah, the definitely, yes. And 29 seconds for you, Paul, on what I love about the Scots, starting now.
It's why they talk to American tourists without actually taking the piss out of them, which I think is fantastic achievement when somebody from the States comes up and says, "Hey, have you got the McClintock Tartan?" And some guy without a moment's hesitation just grabs it off a shelf and says, "It's this one." And I think it's beautiful. As you see them walking up the Royal Mile, resplendent, the tartan glittering in the sunshine.
Clement Challenge.
2 tartans.
2 tartans.
Oh!
Tartan was the other subject, Tartan army.
Yeah.
This is
It
doesn't
was
come...
stupid, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't.
Wasn't it?
No, you went very well for a long time.
Yeah.
Just remind people who don't know, you can, and Owen, you particularly, that
Right.
you can...
Oh, dear.
Does Owen not know in particularly?
No, you can...
That's repetition, because you've told me that before.
No. You can repeat the words on the card.
Okay.
At any time. Right. So, Paul, an incorrect challenge. Clement, 8 seconds. What I love about the Scots, starting now.
No, there was a correct challenge, I think.
Yes, that's right. But who's it to, then?
It's Clement. You said incorrect. It's a correct challenge, Clement.
Yes, by giving him the subject, so I just obviously got incorrect and correct muddled.
Can you repeat the whole thing? What I love about the Scots, can you repeat any part of that thing?
You want me to repeat exactly what he said?
What I love about the Scots?
Yes,
Scots I love about the what?
The Scots is
Scots
the way
I
the
love.
Scots
What Scots?
Why they meet the men. I repeat everything that Paul Merton said, but it'd be utterly boring if I did. All right, you don't want
to a hip-hop soundtrack.
All right.
Funny enough, Nicholas has had a hip-hop.
If I knew what it was, I wouldn't be laughing so much.
MC
Clement,
Nizzle.
It was a correct challenge. I actually did give you the subject, and there are 7 seconds on what I love about the Scots, starting now.
What I love about the Scots is the certainty with which they tell haggis from Harris Tweed. I am always unsure.
So, Clement Freud got another point speaking as the whistle went, and others in the round. He's just 2 ahead of Paul Merton and 3 or 4 ahead of Bill Bailey and Owen O'Neill in that sequence. And, Paul, it is your turn to begin. The subject is tongue twisters. Can you tell us something about that subject in this game, starting now?
The game you play at school, I suppose. Several tongue twisters like Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled pepper, Nicholas nibbles nougat nostalgically. These are the kind of things that you hear from children. Tongue twisters were invented by Professor Tongue, who lived in the 19th century Bavaria and had an unfortunate speech impediment. See, that's the way I pronounce the way that he would have done. He would have preferred to have said something a little closer to how we expect English language to be pronounced. He was the most extraordinary figure. He would wander down the high street late at night, his tartan glittering in the sunshine.
Sorry.
Oh, Paul Mill, you challenge.
Glintering.
Yeah, it's an old Scottish word. There'll be glintering in the gloaming today.
Glintering in the gloaming.
So you think that's a deviation from
I think that's
English?
a deviation from the actual word.
No, deviation from English as we understand it, and from the actual word. Yes, all right.
Oh. I don't. I mean.
No.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Bill. I'm with you.
All right, then you can have it. All right, yeah. I'll give you that.
I'm giving it to you. I don't want the subject.
Oh.
I wouldn't know what to do with it if I had it anyway.
Any
I can't get any
suggestions?
points. You can. Right. 24 seconds, Bill. Yes, you.
Oh,
yes,
got
you.
it. I've got it. Yes.
God, how often do I have to say it?
I don't know. It's a very complicated game.
Is your hair covering your ears?
It
too
is,
much?
yes.
Right.
The beard muffles up my speech.
Yeah, right. The subject is tongue twisters, and you have 24 seconds starting now.
Tongue twisters include words such as round the ragged rock, the ragged rascal ran.
Yeah. Clement challenge.
Which includes 2 words which are the same. I was hoping you weren't going to spot that particular mistake.
No, but Clement did. He's played the game too often. Clement, you have the subject of 18 seconds of tongue twisters starting now.
You know, it depends very much on your tongue, because some words twist tongues the way others don't. I shot a hippopotamus with bullets made of platinum, because if I used leaden ones, his hide be bound to flatten them. It's not necessarily a tongue twister, but...
Paul Charles.
It's not a tongue twister.
As
Clement just said, not necessarily a tongue twister. Deviation. Very good chairman. Excellent chairman. Very good. Shrewd. Shrewd as a knife, aren't you? Shrewd as butter, this man. Shrewd as butter.
No, I think, actually, I must be fair to him on this case, give him the benefit of that. Because
That's unusual.
No, you did say at the beginning, tongue twisters are not only the ones that Paul established, ragged rascal and people, piker, picker, blah, 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 all that, but also you have to twist your tongue to get it round such things
Very
as
excellent
that.
chairman.
Have to get them round those sort of poems, in which you did, and you keep the subject with 2 seconds to go. Tongue twisters starting now.
Round the ragged rocks.
I don't know whether Paul challenged before the whistle or not. I think he did.
Got under the wire, I think.
Yeah.
Did he? Did he? I'll ask
Yeah.
you, did he? You're all prejudiced, aren't you?
There was a hesitation.
There was a hesitation before he's finished it, yes.
Waiting for the whistle.
Yes.
I know.
Yeah, exactly.
If you look it up in the dictionary, it's called hesitation.
You have to blow it again. So, Paul, you have half a second on tongue twister starting now.
Waiting for the whistle.
Right, now we move on, and it's Bill's turn to begin, and the subject is cat's whiskers. Will you tell us, Bill, something about cat's whiskers in this game, starting now?
Whoa.
What's the matter, Bill?
Sorry, I've got a hairball.
Have a drink of water, and
right.
we'll start again. The veterans are on my right, and the novices are on my left. So I always say now, give you a chance to take a breath. The subject is tongue twisters, 60 seconds, starting now.
No. Repetition.
What's the matter?
No, repetition of a time slip in the... The gap in the time.
What's the matter then?
It's cat's whiskers.
Cat's whiskers.
Oh, what did I say?
Tongue twisters.
Tongue twisters.
Tongue twisters. That was
Is
the
it?
subject, wasn't it? Yes.
See? Eh? No
It
wonder
can
I'm
get you-
confused.
Listen, when you've got four fellas coming at you like that all the time, it can be very confusing. Right.
You love it, don't you?
Yeah.
Oh, I revel in it, yes. Right, there we are. So, where
Gets
we
you out of
are.
the house, doesn't it?
So there we are.
No,
Bill.
just was it the cat's whiskers? Did you say, or cat's whiskers?
No, it's
General,
the
all
cat's whiskers.
The cat's. Right.
The cat's whiskers.
You can say as much as you like.
Yeah.
The cat's whiskers.
Right, yes, Bill, the cat's whiskers, 60 seconds, starting now.
The cat's whiskers is a term often applied to something which is absolutely marvellous. Something like the badger's nadders or...
Owen challenge.
I want to know what the badger's nudges are. As a repetition.
It was of something.
Yes, sorry, yeah.
Well done. Owen, you have 55 seconds on the cat's whiskers, starting now.
The Cat's Whiskers is a pub in Dublin, very near where I live, and it's a lovely place to go for a drink on a Sunday afternoon. There are no cats allowed into the pub, and this is because there is no litter bin.
Oh, Paul, you challenged.
It was a hesitation.
Definitely.
It was a hesitation.
Yes, right.
Yes.
So, Paul, the cat's whiskers is with you, and there are 45 seconds, starting now.
In the 1970s, the Cat's Whiskers was a rather rough discotheque in Streatham in South London, and you would walk past it at your peril late at night. You would see punters, drunk, bloodied, being thrown back in because they still had some money to buy a big pint of beer, and it was run by criminal activities who used to meet in a scout hut round...
Clement challenge.
You can't be run by criminal activities.
Of course you can.
Be run by criminal activators.
Yeah.
Well, it's a pronunciation thing then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose technically you're right, Clement. It's a bit pedantic.
Wonderful chairman, chairman.
So, benefit of the doubt to you, Clement, which you say you rarely get. You have a point. You have 25... Well, it is criminal activities. He's right. He can't be run by criminal activities, run by criminals.
That's what I said.
I know that's what you said. I was trying to satisfy Paul Merton.
When did it... You were what?
I was...
When did the biscuits come round?
You were trying to bluff me out of my decision.
Yes.
So, Clement, you have 25 seconds on the cat's whiskers starting now.
I'm not terribly fond of cats, so to say something is the cat's whiskers and imply thereby that it is perfect, excellent, wonderful, without any complaint by anyone who could make against it, seems to me philologically
Paul
fallacious.
challenged.
Sadly, hesitation.
There was an error in there, Paul, Clement.
Really?
Yes, right.
I wasn't listening.
I know.
You weren't alone there.
So, Paul, you have the subject back. You have 10 seconds. The cat's whiskers starting now.
They're designed to be on the side of the cat's head so the creature can judge distances. If you see a feline walking towards a gap between a door and a wall, the whiskers will tell...
Well, Paul Merton was weakened then as the whistle went, gained that extra point, and he's now only 2 behind our leader, Clement Freud, and he's a few ahead of Bill Bailey and Owen O'Neill. Ooh. I got a hiccup then. It's gone. We'll carry on.
It sounded like you'd been punched by a pygmy.
No, well, I being radio, I just let them know all that's happening all the time.
Absolutely.
Because it is a spontaneous show. We keep going irrespective. Right. So, Bill Bailey and Owen O'Neill, as we go into the last round, are equal in third place. A few points behind Paul Merton, who is in second place, and he's 2 points behind our leader, Clement Freud. And, Clement, it's your turn to begin, so we start the last round with mail. Can you tell us something about mail starting now?
I get quite a lot of mail every day, but the ones I least like are...
Paul
I
Charles.
thought it was a slight hesitation there.
I think there was
Bit
indeed,
early
Paul,
for
yes.
Yeah. It's a bit
So,
early.
he was trying to think about the mail he got and hesitated. Another 55 seconds for you, Paul, to continue. No, to take over the subject of mail starting now.
Mail comes in many forms. There's the newspaper, there's chain, or there's the sex. First of all, let's talk about men. Aren't they the most marvellous, wonderful creatures on God's good earth? I can see women nudging each other now saying, I wish I was a bloke. But you can't be, ladies, because your chromosomes aren't in the right order. Look at Bill Bailey. He started off as Linda, hasn't done him any harm. Wonderful individual. He can play the bassoon underwater, and it's a good trick if you can do it. Nicholas Parsons, I think, is the most wonderful example of male that we can see today in this great country of ours. When we look at our esteemed chairman, we think to ourselves, God, is that the time? But no! Marvellous! Because his judgments are so wise and sharp and erudite. And beside me, I have Sir Clement Freud, knighted for his services to the knitting industry. In fact, he should have been knitted, but he wasn't. It was a wonderful occasion when he bent down before the Queen and said, I think you're sitting in my chair. And indeed she was. And she got up and walked down the corridors of Buckingham Palace holding her head held high. Meanwhile, there's Owen O'Neill, fine individual, the best version of teenage kids I've ever had.
Yeah, a very well-deserved round of applause for Paul Merton, who went... How many seconds did he go for? He went for 55 seconds there, right up to the whistle there. Gained that extra point for speaking as a whistle went, and I give you the final situation. Bill Bailey and Owen O'Neill, because they didn't speak in that last round. This will finish.
We didn't get a chance to speak.
We didn't get a chance to speak. No, but what a wonderful contribution you both made.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
You've both got to come back again. After
Yes,
bit
certainly.
A bit more practice.
Yeah, I need a lot more
Absolutely.
practice.
Wait a minute. And Clement Freud was in the lead until then, 2 points ahead, but Paul got 2 points in that round, including one for speaking with the whistle went. So a very fair final decision. The winners are, if we have a winner, but is Paul Merton equal with Clement Freud? On the right. That is all we have time for. It only remains for me to thank our 4 fine players of the game, Paul Merton, Bill Bailey, Owen O'Neill and Clement Freud. I thank Janet Staplehurst, who's helped me with the score. She's blown her whistle most charmingly. We thank our producer, Claire Jones. We're indebted to Ian Messiter, who created this game, and we're very grateful to this lovely festival fringe audience here at the Pleasance up in Edinburgh, who've cheered us on our way with such aplomb, and oh, we do love you all. Anyway, from our lovely audience and from me, Nicholas Parsons, thank you very much. Tune in the next time we play Just a Minute. Welcome to Just a Minute. Thank you. Hello, my name is Nicholas Parsons, and as the minute waltz fades away, once more it is my huge pleasure to welcome our many listeners, not only in this country but throughout the world, but also to welcome to the programme 4 exciting, talented, individual, exuberant, perverse, interesting players of the game. Seated on my right, we have Paul Merton and Clement Freud, and seated on my left, it's Rod Gilbert and John Sargent. Would you please...
Would you seated on your life, then, Nicholas?
Was I deviating from the language as we understand it? And seated... Rod. Yes.
Yeah, seated on my life is wrong.
Deviation. Give him the point before we start. Right. And seated on my left, Rod Gilbert and John Sargent. Please welcome all four of them. And once again, they're going to demonstrate their verbal dexterity, their humorous ingenuity, and their comic invention as they try and speak on the subject that I give them, and do that without hesitation, repetition, or deviation. Beside me sits Janet Staplehurst, who'll help me with a score. She'll blow a whistle when the 60 seconds have elapsed. And this particular edition of Just a Minute is coming from the major venues of the Pleasance at the Edinburgh Festival Fringe. And we have a lovely, packed, excited Festival Fringe audience in front of it. Dying for us to start, so we begin the show with Clement Freud. Clement, the subject is how to present a weather forecast. Please tell us something about that subject in this game, starting now.
I think the most important thing when presenting a weather forecast is to concentrate on the weather rather than on yourself. The fact that I have won the Lucozade, the Orangina, and the Iron Brew Award at the Edinburgh Festival has nothing...
I thought there was a slight hesitation there.
No, he was going with great style, John.
Oh, are you sure? From where I was, he seemed to be hesitating.
No, I know you're a long way away, but he wasn't. He was going with his usual Clement style. So, incorrect challenge, I'm afraid. So, Clement, you have a point, and you have 44 seconds.
What was the subject?
Clement, don't tell him.
So you were talking before. You mean you say you were talking before and you didn't know the subject? That was brilliant. But anyway, the thing is, Clement, you've only been playing the game for about 38 years, and you do know that I always repeat the subject before you start again.
Ah, good.
Yes, right. So you have 44 seconds to continue on how to present a weather forecast starting now.
Weather is almost crucial. People want to know whether they live in Plymouth or Cornwall, if they...
Paul, challenge.
I think there was a slight hesitation.
That was
there.
a hesitation, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
So, Paul, you have
words,
a correct challenge, and you have a point for that, and you have 37 seconds available to take over how to present a weather forecast starting now.
Isobars are very important. You want to put them on the map when the wind's coming in, because then people know whether their hat's going to blow off or not. If I was walking down the street and I said to somebody, it's going to rain in approximately 45 days, everybody said, that's ridiculous, you can't possibly forecast from that distance. But now they can, because they've put this satellite into outer space, which is a special satellite-like thing.
I don't think there's any other word for satellite.
I found that to my cost, yes.
That's right. So, John, yes, that was a correct challenge. We recognise that one. And you have 18 seconds. How to present a weather forecast starting now.
I think the key thing is to make a mistake, like Michael Fish did. He was rather casual about the matter of a hurricane. If he'd taken the hurricane more seriously...
I should explain to my listeners that John Sargent has only played the game once before. Rod Gilbert has never played it before, so he's...
That much is obvious.
But, Paul, that was a correct challenge, yes, of the hurricane. 8 seconds. How to present a weather forecast starting now.
The sleet was coming down at a horrendous rate. I tuned onto the radio and I heard this man say in a deep, sonorous voice...
In this game, whoever is speaking when the whistle goes gains an extra point. On this occasion, it was Paul Merton, so he's naturally in the lead at the end of the round. And Rod Gilbert, we'd like you to take the next round. The subject is, very topical for up here in Edinburgh, my ideal tattoo. You can take the subject any way you like, of course. You have 60 seconds starting now. Sorry,
Who did that?
Rod, the point is that this game, you have to start immediately. Otherwise, it's hesitation.
I was just going to have a little think about it.
You're not even allowed to... You have to have your little thing.
This is an ideal tattoo, not just any old tattoo, Nicholas. I've got to rule out the others first.
You see, what I always do is give you the subject, and then I pause, and then I say, you start now. That's your thinking time. And
Right.
Clement's
Not long,
challenged
is it?
there, and I'm sure he's generous enough to say, first time you've ever played the game, first time you've ever spoken to the show, so we'll give you the benefit of the doubt. We won't charge anything. We'll start again and say, you have, all right, you have 59 seconds.
That kind of worked out for me, then.
Clement.
Deviation.
Why?
You're right, it is a supportive environment, Nicholas.
You started too soon.
You started too soon. Right. Clement, we give you a bonus point because we enjoyed your interruption. Which makes up for the correct challenge you had earlier on. So I'm always very fair, as you see. Rod, the subject is my ideal tattoo.
How long have I got this time?
Wait a minute. Don't get too keen now. 59 seconds, starting now.
My ideal tattoo. I don't think I would have a tattoo. They sound incredibly painful, but if I were to have an ideal tattoo, it would be some staring, unblinking eyes on my eyelids, so that when I shut my eyes in a situation which was perhaps boring and I could doze off, this would allow me to give the impression that I was staring with great interest to whomever might be talking at that time. This would have been useful as I was growing up in school, possibly university, now more so with my girlfriend, or perhaps at a...
Paul challenged you.
Hesitation.
There was a hesitation there.
They laughed at it. I think you're losing them, Paul.
Rod,
and while they were laughing, you stopped talking.
Yeah. Rod, this is
kind of what
most,
I meant as well.
This is the most frustrating game for any comedian because you have to ride your laughs.
You've
Otherwise,
got to ride them,
pause.
you've got to saddle them up.
You have to go through them. You can't afford to wait and nurse them. Paul, your challenge. Hesitation.
Yeah.
You have 32 seconds. My ideal tattoo starting now.
I would love to have a great big heart on my arm that expressed my admiration for the wonderful Nicholas Parsons. To Nick, my heart is yours.
Clement challenge.
Too hot.
I don't care, I mean every word of it.
In spite of your generosity, I've still got to be fair within the rules of just a minute and say, Clement, a correct challenge. 23 seconds, my ideal tattoo starting now.
My ideal tattoo is the Edinburgh tattoo. Hurrah!
And Rod, you've challenged. Hesitation.
Yes.
Well done.
It's quite different from me. I was riding a non-laugh.
They're the hardest laugh to ride, aren't they?
Rod didn't get away with it. Paul got the subject even when Rod did it last time. So, Rod, you got him on his own petard there, and there are 17 seconds on my ideal tattoo starting now.
Well, as I said earlier, my ideal tattoo would be this pair of unblinking eyes on...
Paul.
I think the clue's in the phrase, as I said before.
Now, if you get the subject back, you can't repeat the material that you had before.
Shame?
I know. In another subject you can, but not on this one, I'm afraid. Right. So, Paul, 13 seconds. My ideal tattoo starting now.
The best tattoo I ever saw was here in Edinburgh in 1978, and what a tremendously fascinating event it was. I got there early because there was a big queue of people, and I wanted to make sure I had a good front seat.
Clement challenge.
Too good.
Oh, yes,
too good.
good.
Got there early. Good front seat, yes. Ooh. And Clement, you got him with 1 second to go. It hasn't won you any friends, but you got the subject. Another point. My ideal tattoo starting now.
Soldiers.
So, Clement Freud was then speaking as the whistle went, and he's gained an extra point for doing so. He's now equal in the lead with Paul Merton at the end of that round. John Sargent, will you take the next round? The subject is what I can do in 10 seconds. And you have 60 seconds in which to tell us, starting now.
My memoirs, as some discerning listeners may know, were called Give Me 10 Seconds. So this is something I should know a great deal about. The title comes from an instruction I would give to those people behind the scenes at ITN. If, for example, I was being interviewed by Sir Trevor MacDonald on News at 10, I would be given at some point a warning about how close we were coming to the end of the item. Some would shout a number between 9 and 11 when there was 1/6 of a minute to go. I would not come to a grinding halt because that would be unprofessional. But I would bring my thoughts together. I would focus my ideas. In other words, I would shut up.
Paul's challenge.
There were 3 I would's.
Yes.
7. One after another. I would do this,
Well,
I would do that. I know you're very disappointed, but what can I do? I mean...
It's right. I mean, we let one I would go, or
but
2 I
Well, we let one go because that's not repetition.
You know what I meant. You would let one repeat of it go.
Yes.
Well, one repeat go, but the second repeat, you couldn't bear it, and he did go. We had a very good innings there. You had 45 seconds, John. Very, very... Yes, wonderful. Paul, you had a correct challenge. You have 15 seconds on what I can do in 10 seconds starting now.
I can listen to Clement Freud's mobile going off next to me as we are doing Radio 4's Just a Minute here at the Pleasance. I hope it's that and not a life support machine, because basically it's wonderful. I can do in 10 seconds, I can prepare a very bad egg. It won't be edible.
So Paul Merton speaking as a whistle when gained that extra point. He's now got the lead ahead of Clement Freud, then Rod Gilbert and John Sargent in that order. And Paul, your turn to begin. The subject is Scottish slang. 60 seconds, and you start now.
A useless object is known as a Nicholas. It's one of those things in Scottish slang. If you see something in the street that has no discernible role in life, you call it a nick, what I said before. In the meantime, Scottish slang is best pronounced like this, which is roughly, have you got a bowl of cherries? If you go into any shop in the Royal Mile, you will find many people... Oh, that's a funny word, but nobody challenged. So somebody must, because otherwise we'll be talking all night.
That was
I made a word up there and everybody was asleep.
No, it was a very generous gesture on your part, and John picked it up first. John Sargent, you challenged first. What is your challenge?
My challenge is, well, deviation and hesitation. Double challenge.
No, you don't get 2 points, only 1.
All right.
Which one do you want?
I think deviation.
Yes, I don't know where he was deviating from, but anyway, it was quite right.
Good decision. Good decision from our chairman. Doesn't know why, but he's given it. That's really good.
He paused, John. He stopped and handed it over. Anyway, 33 seconds. Scottish slang with you starting now.
Scottish slang can be heard sometimes on the Royal Mile if you listen very carefully. Go up to people late at night and see where they're saying it's a broad brecht moonlich nicht nicht. The test of whether it is Scottish slang is quite simple. Does it have any discernible meaning? And the answer, of course, is no. You can use...
Paul challenged.
Well, there was a hesitation there as well, you see.
I think he slowed down on his normal pace of speech, but I don't think... I've got to give the benefit of the doubt on occasions. I give it to you, John, on this occasion. I don't think... So you have 15 seconds to continue on Scottish slang, starting now.
The point of slang, any sort, is to make sure the person feels different, and that is brilliantly exemplified in Scottish slang. When someone says, "Oche, the new," what they're really saying is, "I'm proud."
Clement challenge.
Repetition.
What?
Dirigiste.
Can you... I must explain to our listeners, we're all looking at Clement Freud now and wondering what the hell he's talking about.
Give him the benefit of the doubt.
Sounded like dirigiste from here.
He does speak rather quietly. Could you sort of project a bit more, John, so they can hear?
I'll certainly try and do that,
Right,
but I thought I said...
No,
"Oche."
John, benefit of the doubt, Okai the new is not... Well, I don't think it's slang, actually. They didn't get you on that, but then it doesn't matter. Right, 4 seconds, starting now.
The important thing is to make sure that you use Scottish slang at the right...
John Sargent was speaking as a whistle when gained that extra point from the other points in the round. He's now equal to Clement Freud in second place, 2 points behind Paul Merton. Rod,
yeah.
The subject is the etiquette of queuing. Will you tell us something about that subject in this game, starting now?
The etiquette of queuing. Yes, oh, God. Can I start again, please?
Yes, it's up to John, because he challenged first. John, can you
start
start
again, please?
Well, I think, this is difficult, isn't it? What do the audience think? Well, that's it. I don't go against the audience. I'm a freak.
So,
Go on,
John
start
gets a
again.
point because it was a correct challenge, but Rod keeps the subject. 58 seconds. The etiquette of queuing, Rod, starting now.
Queuing is a very tricky business. There are several things that you must not do whilst queuing. For example, do not, when queuing in a butcher's shop in your village on a Friday morning, never breathe down the neck.
John challenge.
Hesitation.
Yes, I must say you have got it anyway, John.
I thought it was
And
just
you
a
had
change of
another point
track.
anyway. And you have 46 seconds. The etiquette of queuing starting now.
The etiquette of queuing is a deeply neglected subject. I don't know why people go on about why we should worry about...
Rod challenge.
Repetition of why.
Yeah. Well, say one thing, Rod. You have got this audience 100% behind you.
That's what you get for being rubbish.
And you now have 39 seconds to try and continue on the etiquette of queuing starting now.
Yes, never breathe down the neck of somebody in your local butcher's shop on a Friday morning in your village.
We have had a lot of that before.
Was it from me?
Local butcher shop on a Friday morning.
Yeah, well, it's a bit of a routine.
So, Paul, another point to you in 34 seconds. The etiquette of queuing starting now.
If you want to go to understand the finer points of queuing, you must go...
Rod, you got it back again.
Repetition of go.
That's right, Rod, can I ask you not to get quite so close to your microphone?
You can ask me
You
whatever
were
you want,
almost
because-
eating it then.
That's how keen I am.
You were thinking about the butcher shop. So, you're back with you. The etiquette of queuing, Rod. 30 seconds starting now.
Whilst queuing at a cash point, try not to breathe down the neck of the person. There's no butcher shop in that.
No, but there was breathing down the neck.
Okay, but I changed location.
Well, you can't do that in just a minute. You've got to stick to the same location and the same word, and different words, right.
That's what I've been doing.
I'm afraid you stick to the same words, you must stick to different words. Paul, another point to you. 26 seconds, the etiquette of queuing starting now.
If you're queuing up in a butcher shop and somebody's trying to breathe down the back of your neck on a Friday morning in Welsh, you must turn to them and say, how dare you? Do you realise that your breath...
Rod challenge.
Repetition of you.
Yes, there was...
Oh, come on.
Rod, I must tell you, we usually let little words like that go.
You might do.
On this occasion...
I'm in no mood for charity now.
No. On this occasion only, as you're new to the game, and Paul is very generous the way he plays it, I will let you have the benefit of the doubt. Well, not benefit of the doubt, it's a correct challenge, but please resist in future. 16 seconds, the etiquette of queuing starting now.
Whilst
Paul.
Hesitation.
I'm afraid I have to give it against you, Paul.
You looked at me and said, I'll give it against you, Paul.
I know I did.
That's very confusing.
I know it is very confusing, but you got me very confused.
Right.
Because,
so who are you going with?
Because you've got the audience with you, you're making a lot of mistakes, and they're being generous, and I must now allow...
Oh.
Listen, he's a lovely contestant, and that's why we've got him here.
Never seen this happen before.
You won the audience. Paul, you won a point. You have 15 seconds. The etiquette of queuing starting now.
If one stands in front of the other person that's in front of you, then inevitably you will find yourself...
Rod challenge.
Repetition of front. You can't let that go.
You can. If you stand in front of somebody who's in front of you.
Yes.
Yes, right.
You don't have to let it go, Rod. Have you been to show business?
Is that somewhere you can go?
From the microphone, if you can. And 10 seconds with you, Rod. The etiquette of queuing starting now.
I had an Uncle Barry who loved to queue. Sometimes he would just turn up outside something and stand alone and start a queue. That's how all the great queues had started.
Oh. John, yes?
Repetition of queue. He said queue twice.
He's
not part
queue,
of
and
the
queuing is on the subject.
Queuing's in the car.
You can repeat the words in the car, but you repeat the word queue.
Sorry.
It's the way we play the game. I'm sorry. Those are the rules.
You've got to be tough, though. I was so charitable early on. Look where it got me.
Right. You've got lots of points, John, and you've got him with 3 seconds to go. The etiquette of queuing starting now.
The etiquette of queuing could be so important, particularly to young.
Well, let me give you what the situation is points-wise. It's all very, very close, which is very interesting, actually. Rod Gilbert is only just in fourth place. He's only 1 point behind Clement Freud, who's only 1 point behind John Sargent, who's only 1 point behind Paul Merton. So in that order of sequence, they're all doing very well. And John, it's your turn to begin, and the subject is handbags. Tell us something about that subject in this game, starting now.
Surprisingly, I do not have a handbag. I find that a briefcase works just as well for keeping all those old bits of string and out-of-date coins. But I did know a long time ago in a galaxy far away a star politician who was very good at using, yes, handbags. She had lots of them and was, of course, Margaret Thatcher. Instead of clipping her ministers round the ear, which in public would be frowned upon, she used to metaphorically handbag them, and she gave this phrase to the dictionary in the lexicon of British politics, the handbagging. I was...
Clement Charles.
The subject is handbags. He's now said handbag 4 times.
No, he said handbags as a subject. He said handbagged and handbagging. He hasn't actually repeated anything.
Boo. Did you hear them boo?
I think they were booing you, actually, Clement.
No. Poor decision.
This lot will boo anybody.
So, Rod, you pressed your buzzer.
Well, I've got a different challenge. I think it's deviation.
It's too late now. So, John, you've still got the subject of handbags. 26 seconds starting now.
I think one of the advantages that the former Prime Minister had is that people thought she had an enormous array of handbags, that there were different handbags for all sorts of quite separate things.
Yeah, Paul, you challenge.
Hesitation.
Yes, that is a hesitation. So you've got him with 13 seconds to go on handbags, Paul, starting now.
It's one of the great lines in the English theatre, The Importance of Being Earnest, by Oscar Wilde, where Lady Bracknell is asked, well, in fact, she is referring to a gentleman who's been born in a handbag, and she falls up to her full height and she says, a hand...
So at the end of that round, I'll give you the situation because we're moving into the final round, alas.
That was your chance to boo.
Well, you can all come next year, so we'll return and do more Just a Minute in Edinburgh next year. Oh, what a lovely audience. They just wonder if anything you say. As we move into the final round, let me tell you, Rod Gilbert has never played it before, but he's done extremely well so far, and he's got just 1 point behind Clement, and Clement's a couple of points behind John Sargent, who's really only the second time he's played it. Paul Merton is just in the lead, and he takes the final round, which is, we're keeping the Edinburgh theme going here, my favourite spot in Edinburgh. 60 seconds, Paul, starting now.
There is a dark, dank cellar deep beneath the bowels of this magnificent city, where every Saturday night Nicholas Parsons dances in a naked flame to restore his vitality. He's actually 408, and you wouldn't know it to look at him. He doesn't look a day over 95.
Clement Challenge.
I think you would.
Yeah.
So what is your challenge within the rules of Just a Minute?
Deviation from the truth.
So, Nicholas, you have to decide whether you look 486 or not. Not out.
No, I think humorously, yes, people do think I'm 408, but I think logically you're right, Clement. So you have my favourite spot in Edinburgh, and 44 seconds starting now.
If one's favourite spot is the one on which one spends most time...
Rod Challenge.
Well, I know it's only a small word, but 1 3 times in the first sentence has got to be bad, hasn't it?
No.
Ones.
Ones and ones.
Oh, ones, 1 1.
Yeah.
2 1 and 1 1.
One and ones.
In which
try.
one...
There were so many I lost track, to be honest.
So, Clement, an incorrect challenge, and 40 seconds, my favourite spot in Edinburgh, starting now.
Then it is Waverley Station taxi queue, in which I have actually spent a large section of my life.
Rod, yes.
Yeah, that was
hesitation. So, 32 seconds.
Nothing like the hesitation you spend at Waverley Station.
I'd like to be fair to those taxi drivers, because I've queued up a couple of times, and there was hardly any wait at all. I don't know what happened to you.
Very interesting.
Well, you see, I'm one of these...
With Nicholas, they drive straight at you, don't they? They drive straight at him.
Right, Rod, you had a correct challenge, you'll be pleased to hear. And you have the subject of my favourite spot in Edinburgh. There are 32 seconds, and you start now.
My favourite spot in Edinburgh has to be the Royal Mile during the Edinburgh Festival. It is wonderful. There is no far greater sight to see than a group of middle-class English school kids in matching T-shirts singing a song about finding a lucky pencil on the ground and picking it up. Once I even saw a group of not-so-middle-class Scottish kids...
Clement, challenge.
Middle class.
You had
Yeah, but not so middle-class.
But you did repeat the word. So, Clement, 14 seconds are available on my favourite spot in Edinburgh, starting now.
I suppose the boil, or could it be a carbuncle, on the chin of the man who was standing outside my hotel yesterday evening could be my favourite spot in Edinburgh, where I attracted to those sort of facial...
Rather unsavoury thought. Clement took him up to the whistle, gained the extra point for doing so, and brought the show to a close. Let me give you the final situation. Very, very close, very even, very fair. Rod Gilbert, who hasn't played the game before, he finished in a magnificent third place. John Sargent, who's only played the game once before, finished in an amazing second place. Only 2 points ahead were Clement Freud and Paul Merton equal, so we say they're the winners this week. It only remains for me to say thank you to these 4 fine players of the game: Paul Merton, John Sargent, Rod Gilbert and Clement Freud. I also thank Janet Staplehurst, who's helped me keep the score. She's blown the whistle so elegantly every time the 60 seconds went. We thank our producer, who is Claire Jones. We're indebted to Ian Messiter, who created this amazing game, and we're very grateful to this lovely fringe audience here at the Pleasance in Edinburgh who've cheered us on our way. Hope you've had a great time. Hope the listeners have enjoyed it all. Tune in the next time we play Just a Minute!